In this video, I'm going to show some examples of how to divide decimals by whole numbers. The first thing you'll do is go ahead and set up the problem just like you normally would. And really the only difference here between dividing decimals by whole numbers and whole numbers by whole numbers is you have a decimal point that you need to move straight up that will continue to separate the whole number place values and the decimal place values in your answer. Now that I have the decimal point in the correct place, I can go ahead and divide this just as if it were 11 divided by 2. So 2 doesn't go into 1, but it goes into 11 5 times. And there's 1 left over. Now what I can do here is I could write this as 0 and 5/10 and then 1/2, but it wouldn't make sense for me to write a decimal and a fraction combined. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go ahead and take the 0 that is in the hundredths place and bring it down and keep dividing. And now I've just converted 1/2 to a decimal, which is 0.5, but the 0.5 is going into the hundredths place because that's the place value we were at in the problem. So my answer is 0 and 55 hundredths. Question 2 is 6 and 71 hundredths divided by 55. Bring the decimal straight up. It's now in the correct place value. And then go ahead and divide as if this were 671 divided by 55. 55 doesn't go into 6, but it goes into 67 one time. And now we have 121, and 55 will go into 121 twice. That's 110. Now, if we look at the problem, we probably already know the answer because looking at the answer choices, there's only one answer choice that is less than one whole. We could have even figured that out before we started this problem. If I take something that's about 7 and I divide it by a number that's, even if I just go ahead and put 55, 7 divided by 55 is 7 over 55, which is way less than one whole. So answer choice A is not reasonable, B is not reasonable, C is not reasonable. The only one that makes sense is D. I can prove that by going ahead and putting the 0 that's in the thousandths place and bringing it down and dividing. And then I do end up with a 2 in the thousandths place, so it is 122 thousandths. Question 3, just like on the last problem, before we even begin, we can estimate and probably eliminate a bunch of answer choices. So this is, if I were to round this, I would round 5.517 to 6 because it's more than halfway to 6. And then if I were dividing 6 divided by 9, that's 6/9, which is a little bit more than a half. And there's only one answer choice that makes sense, so it's definitely going to be B. I'm going to go ahead and divide this out just to show you how that would work. But we've already eliminated all the answer choices that are A, C, and D because they're not reasonable. So bring the decimal point up to the correct place value. Go ahead and divide just like normal, thinking this was 5,517 divided by 9. 9 goes into 55 6 times. 9 goes into 11 once. And then 9 goes into 27 3 times. So as you can see, it is 613 thousandths. And question 4, we can again estimate before we begin. We can round 9 and 172 thousandths to 9, and 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. So the answer should be close to 4.5. I'm going to go ahead and do the actual problem now. Bring the decimal point straight up and divide as if this were 9,172 divided by 2. 2 goes into 9 4 times, and into 11 5 times. 17, 2 goes into 17 8 times, and then into 12 6 times with no remainder. So our final answer is 4 and 586 thousandths, which is very close to our estimate of 4.5.